In the summer of 2002, Europe faced one of its most destructive natural disasters in recent memory. Heavy rains fell across Central and Eastern Europe, and rivers that had seemed calm for centuries suddenly turned into raging monsters. The floods didn't discriminate. They swept through cities, towns and farmlands, leaving devastation in their wake. From Germany to the Czech Republic, Austria and beyond, millions of people faced homes submerged in water, roads cut off, and livelihoods at risk. What made these floods so catastrophic wasn't just the rain. It was the sheer scale, the timing, and the vulnerability of the areas affected. This story is not just about water, it's about how nature can overpower human preparation and the lessons it left behind for Europe and the world. The European summer of 2002 started like any other, but then in August the weather began to turn unusual. Persistent low-pressure systems lingered over Central Europe, bringing continuous rainfall. Rivers like the Elbe, Danube and Vltava started to swell beyond their usual banks. What might have been manageable if it had rained over a few days instead lasted weeks. The ground, already saturated, could not absorb the water. Every additional drop added pressure to rivers, dams and levees, pushing them toward collapse. Experts later described it as a perfect storm of meteorological conditions. Long-standing flood defenses were tested to their limits and some simply gave way. The result was widespread flooding on a scale not seen in decades. The flood's first frontline, Germany, especially the eastern regions, bore the initial brunt. Cities like Dresden and Magdeburg faced rising water levels that reached historic highs. Streets transformed into rivers, and emergency services scrambled to evacuate thousands of residents. The Elbe River, normally a symbol of commerce and beauty, became a destructive force. Its waters inundated homes, shops and factories. Infrastructure was heavily damaged, and some areas were cut off for days, making it difficult to deliver aid. To the east, the Czech Republic was next. The Vltava River, flowing through the capital city of Prague, surged dramatically. Streets and historic squares became canals. Residents were forced to evacuate as water entered homes and businesses. The flood hit industrial areas and historic districts alike. Factories were submerged, railway lines disrupted, and cultural treasures, including libraries and museums, suffered damage. The Czech government declared a state of emergency, mobilizing military and civil defense units to assist civilians. Volunteers worked around the clock, moving people, sandbags, and essentials to safety. Mini CTA 2, stories like this remind us why emergency preparedness is critical. Subscribe to the channel to get more real-life disaster stories and survival insights. The Czech Republic's response, while heroic, highlighted the difficulty of managing floods in urban areas with rivers that pass directly through dense city centers. Prague's centuries-old bridges and historic buildings faced risks not just from water but from the sheer force of debris carried by the rivers. The floods didn't stop at Germany or the Czech Republic. Austria, Slovakia, Hungary and other Central European nations were soon facing rising waters of the Danube and its tributaries. In Austria, communities along the Danube had to deal with evacuations and damage to farmland. Slovakian rivers overflowed, affecting small towns and villages. Hungary saw rivers reaching levels unseen in decades. Across the region, the disaster had a common theme: relentless water, overwhelmed defenses, and human determination to survive. International aid played a key role. Neighbouring countries sent emergency crews, supplies, and financial support. The European Union coordinated relief efforts, showing how collaboration can save lives when natural disasters cross borders. Mini CTA 3, if you're fascinated by how countries collaborate during crises, stick around for our upcoming videos on global disaster management. Hit the bell icon to stay updated. Human stories amid the flood. While statistics and maps can show the scale of the disaster, the real story lies in the people who lived through it. Families evacuated in the dead of night, clutching whatever belongings they could save. Farmers watched their fields turn into lakes, livestock swept away. Volunteers and rescue teams faced extreme conditions, sometimes risking their own lives to save strangers. In Dresden, residents formed human chains to reinforce sandbag barriers. In Prague, students and local communities worked through nights, carrying furniture and valuables to higher floors to protect them from the rising waters. Many stories of survival emerged, highlighting courage, resilience, and the human spirit in the face of nature's overwhelming power. Environmental and economic impact. The floods had lasting environmental and economic consequences. Rivers carried tons of debris into urban areas, clogging drainage systems. Water contamination became a serious issue, raising the risk of disease. Economically, the floods caused billions of dollars in damages. Homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure required rebuilding. Insurance claims surged, and some regions faced long-term financial strain. The disaster also prompted reflection on Europe's flood defenses. Governments recognized that existing infrastructure needed modernization. Strategies for early warning, river management and urban planning were re-evaluated to prevent similar devastation in the future. Lessons learned. Preparing for the unpredictable. The 2002 European floods left Europe with lessons that are still relevant today. First, even regions with sophisticated flood defences are vulnerable to extreme weather events. Climate change has increased the likelihood of such floods, making preparedness essential. Second, early warning systems and community mobilisation can save lives. In many areas, lives were spared thanks to rapid evacuation and coordinated emergency response. Third, disasters are not just environmental, they are social. How and where we build homes, cities and industries can determine the scale of destruction. Risk awareness and planning are just as important as physical barriers against water. The power of nature and human resilience. The 2002 European floods remind us of the raw power of nature. Rivers, which can be sources of life, can also become agents of destruction when weather patterns go extreme. But this story is also about resilience. Communities, governments and volunteers came together in extraordinary ways, showing that even in disaster, humanity can rise to the challenge. As we look to the future, the floods are a reminder that preparation, planning and awareness are key. Floods may return, but knowledge, action and unity can make the difference between devastation and survival. Outro. Natural disasters like the 2002 European floods teach us lessons that go beyond geography. They teach us about preparation, resilience, and the importance of working together. If you found this story insightful, make sure to like this video, share it to spread awareness about the importance of disaster preparedness, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most impactful natural disasters and how humanity responds to them. Together, we can learn from the past to better protect the future.